Hello everyone, and today I am going to tell you how to take care of baby fish. Mainly guppies, mollies, and platies or swordtails. Really live barrier fry. I wouldn't recommend this for not for cichlids or all that, like other fish. I wouldn't recommend watching this for other fish because cichlids need a bigger tank, and so I'm just gonna do the basics of when you what's it called? What you should do, really, up to 2 months. So here I'm gonna first say is when your guppy, molly, platy, or swordtail has a squarish stomach, you should always have a breeder box with you or a separate tank. I would recommend getting a separate tank, but the only reason why I say a breeder box is because it separates the babies from the mom, but the only problem is it's stressful on the mom. I've had that before. The female got really stressed. I came in the morning. I put her in with my baby fish tank because she couldn't eat them. They were really big, so I put her in there and I saw her giving birth, so I scooped her back in because you shouldn't want to keep them in the breeder box for a long time because it could stress them out and kill them. So what I'm going to say is when they first give birth, you should keep them in a small tank at first, maybe a half gallon, because they're not going to move very much for the first few days. And for the first 3 days, they're not going to move. You should get much. So what you want to do, always keep throughout, is floating plants, fake, live. I would prefer live because it's an extra food source for them. But fake is alright. You should also, if you want to, if you're putting a separate tank, you should have a bubbler. Because you need oxygen for the babies. So you're going to need a bubbler. You don't need it for when they're first born because they're so tiny and they need very little oxygen. But you should still keep them, give them a bubbler maybe once or twice a day just to give them some oxygen. So, you might want to set up a brine shrimp hatchery if you watch how to start a brine shrimp hatchery. If you want to do that natural source, then you can do that. For the first week or two, you can do a day of feeding of, brine shrimp. But once they get older, they're going to be too old for it, or you'd have to do many feedings of the brine shrimp. So, when they're about 2 weeks old, 2 to 3 weeks old, I would say, you want to transfer, 2 weeks, but you want to transfer them to a gallon or a gallon and a half. Now, I recommend just keep going up because if you start them off with a big tank, it's hard for them to find food. And when they're born, you want to crush up the food very long so it gets very fine so they can eat it. But after 2 weeks, you don't have to crush it up as fine. You still have to crush it up, but you gotta crush it up a bit, not too much. Also, you should, when they're 2-3 weeks old, gallon and a half, like I said, when they're first born, they're gonna need a lot of hiding spots. Especially they just feel more safer, so you can take out the less of the hiding spots. But really keep on a bubbler with them, and you should be fine. But when they're a few days after they're maybe a month old, you can add them to the big tank. I would not recommend it though, because they still could get sucked up by the filter or get attacked by the other fish. I've had them where I put them in for a month old and the other fish attacked them and killed them. So it depends what fish you're having, but you should definitely wait 2 to 3 months old until you put them in, because the other fish could attack them, and they need to be off the small food, because I have swordtails that are now in the big tank. They're not gigantic, but they can eat big flakes. So once they eat big flakes and you see that they're not picking at them or being mean to them, you can put them in. And I would say that should be it, but once they get older and older, you need to keep like having more. So once they get older, like maybe a month, that's when you should move them into a bigger tank, like maybe a 10-gallon. And then when they get 2 months, it's a bigger tank, maybe a 15, 17-gallon, something bigger you can find. And then once they're old enough, they can go in your 20, 30-gallon aquarium or 10-gallon. It doesn't really matter. But make sure baby fish need to be fed 8 times a day. Now, you may not have time to feed them 8 times a day. You can feed them 4 times a day. But with brine shrimp, you only need to give, like, you can, take a bit of brine shrimp and put them in there a few times a day. But, all you really have to do is, if you're doing crush flake, you should do at least 4 times a day. I feed my baby fish at least 5 times a day because it's very important for them, and they should have natural sunlight because it helps develop their spine. And you need their spine to be developed. Now, if you're doing it for profit, I'll do another video of culling. I can't say it right, but culling, I think. I don't do culling because I feel like I'm not selling them, so I'm just keeping them. But if you're keeping them and you don't want to cull them, you don't have to. But if you're selling them, you should cull the babies. And I'll definitely do another video on culling them. But, what's it called? You should definitely, if you're selling them, cull them. Culling them is like when it's like their spine is messed up or the fin is messed up. So you want to do it like different. You want to have it because people want to breed them perfect. So you should definitely have, if you're selling them, a perfect guppy at least. Molly, platy, or swordtail. But I'll definitely do another video on different baby fish. And I will definitely do a video on caring for the adult and pregnant fish. Okay, see you guys.